It's me, Jesus Ramirez. Thank you so much for joining me at another Photoshop Daily Creative Challenge. Thank you guys so much. How's everyone doing? Let me take a look at the chat and see who we have here. Hey Sam, Soul, Hyde, Adobe Live, Andre, Stone, Sam. Thank you guys so much for being with me here today. I hope everybody's doing well. I don't have a voice. I don't know if you guys can hear. I was just in New York for a whole week at Photo Plus Expo, and I had a whole bunch of sessions to do. So I just got back from New York last night, so I'm kind of lost my voice a little bit. So I hope you guys can hear me okay. Hey everybody, how's it going? Before we get started, let me just pull up a page, and I know you can't see it yet, but this is the page where you're going to download the assets for today's stream. Let me just pull it up. It's on behance.net/challenge/Photoshop, and let me show you guys what that looks like. Is this page here, and please come in here and click on this big blue button so that you can join me in the next 5 days where we're going to create 5 really cool projects in Photoshop. Today we're going to design a modern album cover, and you can scroll down to the bottom of the page and click on Get Started. That will open up the link to Dropbox where you can download the assets for today's challenge. Also, make sure that you click on Join the Community Chat so that you can go into the Discord app, or you can then click on Current Challenge, and this is where you're going to submit the work that you create. So I'll be on here with... Oh, music is too loud, I see. Sorry about that, guys. Let me bring that down. I hope that's a little bit better. I can see now that Sorry, guys. Sorry about the music. Is that better? Let me know in the chat if that is better. Cool. I'm just waiting for you guys to respond about the music. Sorry about that. Yeah, I know it's... Sorry about that. Whoopsie daisy. All right, better now? Yeah, is that better? All right, here we go. I'm going to get the mic closer to me, and hopefully that's better. All right, awesome. Yeah, that's better. Yay. All right, so in case you didn't hear what I said, go back into the behance.net/challenge/Photoshop page, click on the big blue button so you can join me in the next 5 days, and then scroll down, download the asset for today and get started, and click on the community chat so that you can go into the Discord app, and then under current challenge, you can submit the work that you're going to create with me today and in the next 4 days. So it should be really, really fun. Let me just see. Yeah, everybody's saying better. Awesome. So everybody can hear me now. What did I eat? I don't know if that's Philippe. I don't know if that's a question about my voice, but I was just saying that I was in New York for the Photo Plus Expo, and I had 5 presentations, and I don't know. I think just the last day, just my voice went out. That was yesterday that I flew back from New York. But anyway, so we're gonna be working on this image. Please download it if you want to follow along. But you can use any image that you like. I'm going to turn on Photoshop, and we're gonna get started. So I got that file already downloaded as well. So I should have had it on. There we go. There it is when we started. So this is the image that we're gonna work with, and we're going to start by masking the background, and that is really, really easy to do. We're going to go into the quick selection tool, and we're going to use Adobe Sensei. See that? Adobe Sensei right there. Adobe Sensei. And yeah, you're right. I hear that. I see what you're saying about the orangeness. I'm not really sure. I have the really same light setup as I always do. But anyway, we're going to... Let me see if I can just... work on that, because now that you mention it, you're right. I do look a little orange. Maybe we can fix that. I don't know if that fixed it or not, but we won't not worry about me being too orange for today. Now I'm too red. Anyway, we're just gonna start keep working with Photoshop. So we're gonna work with this image, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna turn it into a modern album cover, and we're gonna apply a background texture to the background, or a pattern, I should say, not a texture, to the background, and then we're gonna apply a color effect to our model. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna select the man layer and we're just gonna remove the background. And even though he is wearing a dark shirt and he's not very well lit and the background is completely black, Adobe Sensei, these guys right here, Adobe's artificial intelligence, will be able to select the subject and remove the background. So I'm just gonna click on select subject and that will make a selection right around him. Look at that, isn't that super cool? Also, if you wanna see if the selection is accurate, one trick that you can do is just press the Q key for the quick mask mode. I have mine set to green, but if you double click on this icon here, let me try that again. Oh, the window is over here. If you double click on that icon here, this is the quick mask icon right over here. This window comes up and you can change the color. So by default there's red, and the reason I had it set to green is because I was working on a project where I had a red background, so you couldn't really see it. So you can change it if you want to. So by default there's red, but you can change it to something else. And when you press Q again, now you'll get a red overlay. And the reason that you want to do that is so that you can zoom in and make sure that Adobe Sensei got all the parts of the image. It missed a few, that's okay. I'm just gonna select the brush tool and I'm going to select the hard brush. And this looks like it's a pretty big brush. So I'll reduce it with the left bracket key on the keyboard, which is right next to the letter P on the keyboard. And I'm painting with black, so I'm subtracting. I don't want to do that. I want to paint with white to add to the selection. So I'm adding to the selection, painting with white, and I don't have to be precise. I've done many streams before, and I've mentioned so many times that I really don't make precise selections till the very, very end, because sometimes you don't know what you want to keep and what you don't want to keep. So I don't like spending time on things that I'm not going to keep. So I'll quickly paint this area out behind his ear. Notice the foreground and background colors here on the left on the bottom of the toolbar. If you hit the X key on the keyboard, you swap between foreground and background. See that? Foreground and background. X key on the keyboard. So with black selected, I'm just going to paint with black to remove those areas there. And then I'll press the X key again to swap the foreground and background color. And I'll paint here as well, like so. And make sure that I get the shirt. Now I'm not going to spend too much time fine-tuning the mask because we got to get to more exciting things. But just remember, quick mask mode, letter Q, so you can see what you've selected or what Adobe Sensei selected in this case. And you can press the X key when you have the brush tool, or you don't have to have the brush tool active. You can press the X key when you're painting so that you can swap between the foreground and background color on those. So then I'll press Q again, we have the selection, and all I need to do now is just click on the layer mask icon and boom, the background is gone. At this point, if you like, you can double click on the layer mask thumbnail and then just smooth out the edges a little bit, maybe shift them in a tiny bit, and maybe add a little bit of feather, just a tiny little bit of blur, and press OK. And now we've masked the background out. Oh, actually somebody wrote, or Alt and drag. I'm assuming that they refer, what are they referring to? What are you guys referring to? Alt and drag, are you referring to making a brush larger or smaller? I'm guessing that's what you're referring to. So I use the left bracket and the right bracket key on the keyboards to make a large, to resize the brush. And the reason that I do that is because I'm old and I'm used to the old way of doing it, you know, like from 15 years ago, 20 years ago. But I don't know, about 6 years ago or so, a new way of resizing the brush was introduced, which is holding the Alt key and then right clicking. If you drag left and right, you can increase and decrease the size of your brush, and you can go up and down to adjust the hardness. And arguably that's faster, but I'm just so used to doing it the old way, which is using the bracket keys that I just instinctively do it. But you could also use that method. I don't know if that's what you were referring to, but that's what I assume you were asking on the question there. And I'm scrolling up to see who asked that, but I can't see the person because the chat went by too quickly. Yeah. Oh, so a question, there's a question, Linda, why quick mask and not select and mask? Again, it's just preference. Another way of doing it would have been, and just to answer the question, I'm just going to duplicate that layer, delete the layer mask, and another way of doing it would have been just to have that layer selected, go into the quick selection tool, and just click on select and mask. And from here, I could have done the same thing. I could have selected the quick selection tool, click on select subject, and it would have done basically the same initial selection, and then I could have selected one of the different backgrounds to continue working on my mask. There's no real difference. It's just the same way of doing, doing the same thing in two different ways. I just have the habit of using quick mask mode just because I just feel that I can work faster with it, but using selected mask would also be, if you can work faster there, then there's no problem with that. So I hope that answered your question. Yep, and as Matt was saying, you can use either method, Linda. Yep. Cool. So I hope that answered the question. Awesome. All right, so let me just delete this extra layer and we'll keep working with this image. What I'm gonna do now is, and let me keep an eye out on the time because I don't wanna I don't wanna end late and I'm gonna make sure we finish the project. What I'm gonna do now is create a rectangle and make sure that shape is selected in the drop down in the options bar. And I'm just gonna make a rectangle like right about here that covers like almost the entire canvas, but not all of it. And then I can double click on the thumbnail and change the color to red, and I'll bring that back down. And actually, you know what? I don't want red. I want like an orange color, like a red orange, something like that. And what I'm gonna do now is create a pattern so that I can apply it to that background, but I'm gonna create it in a new document. And what I'm gonna do so by going into File and New, and then I'm gonna just select a width of, let me think here, we'll just go 300 and see how that works. Let's see, 300 by 300 and press OK. So now we have this big white square, right? And then you can select any custom shape that you like. I'm gonna select the diamond, which is here. If you don't see this many shapes, what you need to do is click on this gear icon and click on all, and then click on OK, and then you're gonna see them all. Because by default, you're only gonna see maybe like a fourth of these. So then select any one of these shapes that you like. I'm going to select the diamond, and I'm just gonna click and drag here in the corner, hold shift. If you have it set that way in new versions of Photoshop, you don't have to hold shift, but I have it set so that I have to hold shift to constrain the selection. But anyway, so there's my little diamond, and I'm actually gonna disable the background. And what I'm gonna do with the diamond is I'm gonna make it white. So now I have a white diamond right in the corner up against a white background, or not a white background, I'm sorry, a transparent background. So there's nothing there. And what I'm gonna do now is go into Edit, Define Pattern, and I'll just call it diamond. I don't know if I misspelled it, so somebody will probably correct me if I misspelled diamond for some reason. That looks weird to me, but anyway, so pattern name is diamond, so I'll press OK. And now I'm gonna go back into my working document and I can create a new pattern fill layer. And by default, Photoshop will load the previous pattern. So now I can scale that pattern any way that I want. So maybe I'll try 25%. That looks pretty good to me. So I'll press OK. And now I have a pattern that goes right on top of that background. Yeah, diamond. I think I got it right. Anyway. And you know what? I'm still not liking this orange. I still want it to be a little more red, so I'm just gonna change the color. Double click on the foreground color and make it, just add a little more red to that. I wasn't feeling the yellowish. But what I'm gonna do now is apply a color to our model here. We're gonna apply this cool color overlay. But before I do that, I'm gonna try to stay organized. So I'm just gonna delete this background layer because we don't need it. And then actually we do need it because that's what's making this white part. Sorry about that. So we're gonna select the background and then hold shift and click on the pattern fill layer. That selects all three layers at once. If you're holding shift, when you click on the bottom one, then the top one, and you can press Control G, Command G on the Mac, and that puts it into a group. So see, now we just have one group containing all those layers. So it's good to stay organized. Next, we are going to work on applying this color to him. And what we're gonna do is we're going to start by applying just a gradient map, right? Super cool. We're done. No, just kidding. What you need to do is with this gradient map selected, click on this little icon in the properties panel to clip it to the layer below, or you can press Control Alt G, Command Option G on the Mac, or you can hold Alt or Option and hover in between the two layers and click. It's up to you, whichever method you want. If you're just starting out, just clicking on this icon is probably the easiest. I have the habit of just pressing Control Alt G to make a clipping mask, and that works. So now I can click on the gradient map thumbnail in the layers panel, and there you go. That should bring up this window, and you can now select any one of these effects, right? Super cool stuff. Or you can create your own. So the way this works is that whatever color this left stop is set to, that's what the darkest colors of the image will be. And whatever this stop is set to, that's what the brightest colors will be. So I can now change this to maybe like a really dark blue. And then I'll change this to like a bright blue, something like that. And then maybe add one in the middle, and then, you know, select like a blue like that one. And obviously I can keep fine tuning the image until I get the results that I want. You know, I can keep dragging these points and maybe, you know, get a different result and press OK. Everything we've done today is editable. So if there's something that you don't like, you can go back and adjust. So that's the way I like to work. I like to work non-destructive, which means that you're not stuck with the adjustments that you make. You can always come back and edit them. So here we are. I'm liking it a lot, but you know what? The problem is now that I just feel that he's a little too flat, and I want to just add some highlights and shadows onto him so that so that this gradient map just looks more intense. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna create this. I'm gonna create a new layer on top of the man layer, and I'm just gonna call it Dodge and Burn. And notice what happened. When I created that layer, right on top of the man layer, it also was clipped to the layer below because the layer above was clipped. So if you click on this layer, notice that we have two clip layers now, right? And if I start clicking on the new layer icon, it just creates a whole bunch of layers. So, and they're all clipped. So that's super cool. You don't have to worry about clipping something, which is why I try to get into the habit that if I'm gonna need a layer on top of the layer that I'm on, but there's layers that are clipped above it, I would click on the actual layer that I want to clip the layer to, because then it creates a new layer and it clips it automatically. Otherwise, if you're on this top layer and you create a new layer, it doesn't clip it, so you have to do that keyboard shortcut. So a faster way of doing it is just to select the layer and click on new layer icon, and then that creates that layer clip to the layer below. But anyway, so what we're gonna do, we're gonna now dodge and burn this layer. And what that means is that we're going to use a technique that photographers use to create shadows and highlights on images. And this is gonna help also with the color effect, because the color effect is being applied based on the luminosity of the layer. So we change the luminosity, we change how the color is applied. And that's what we wanna do. And if you go into edit and fill, you can select under contents 50% gray. With 50% gray, you can just press OK, and now we have a 50% gray layer. And what we're gonna do now is change the blending mode to overlay, and overlay makes 50% gray invisible, but it makes anything darker or brighter apply either a darkening or brightening effect to the image below. So let me show you what I mean by that. I'm gonna go and just select the dodge tool, make sure that midtones is selected in the drop down, and I'm just going to start painting. See how I'm just brightening certain areas of the image wherever I paint? So now I can start creating these cool highlights all over the image. And obviously I'm going very quickly here, but I think that you get the idea. Before and after, if I change it to normal, you can see that I'm just brightening those areas. See that? So I'm gonna change it back to overlay, and this time I'll switch it to burn. And now when I burn, and make sure that range is set to midtones, by the way. When I burn, now I'm adding shadows to the image. See that? Adding shadows. Super cool stuff, right? And obviously it's up to you how you style your album cover. But you can see that very quickly we can start changing the brightness and shadows and highlights and all these cool things about the image and just make it more stylistic. So I'm gonna crop the image just to make it more like an album. But before I do that, I want to ask you guys, what should we name this album? So let me know in the chat what we're gonna name the album, and I'll then read one of the names that you guys put up, and I'll put it on here and show you how to do that. But first, we're gonna get organized. So I'm gonna select the man layer, hold Shift, and click on the gradient map. Press Control G, Command G on the Mac to put it into a group. So now we have the foreground and the background. And if you want to, you can right click on the layer and just give it a color. So orange for the background and blue for the foreground. That way we can easily see in the layers panel what we have. Somebody said, Philippa Jones said orange. Somebody said blue. Clockwork Orange, Trance, Blue Dreams. These are the albums that people are putting in the chat. Mind Palace, Feeling Blue. Feeling Blue. I like Feeling Blue because it reminds me of, I don't know what, Michael Bublé's I'm Feeling Good. So Feeling Blue is kind of like the opposite, I guess. I don't know. But we'll go with Feeling Blue. So I'm just going to click on the type tool and then type in Feeling Blue. And what I can do now is just go into the character panel. So click on this icon in the options bar and I can change the color to white, for example. I can now scroll through the different fonts and see which one works best. This one called Fenway Park, which is part of fonts.adobe.com would work, but you can use any font that you like. And I'm going to select the move tool and click and drag on the corner handles to scale that up. And I can place it like right in the center, right there. And then I'm also going to crop it to a 1x1 square and click on the check mark to commit the changes. And that gives us our final result. I'm Blue, Dabudi, Dabudad. Yeah, I love that song. It came out when I was in high school. That's a good one, Noor. But yeah, guys, that completes our challenge for today. Feel free to use a selfie or use a friend's photo, whatever you like. You don't have to use this if you don't want to, but if you want to practice, remember to go into behance.net /challenge/Photoshop, click on the big blue button, join the community, which is on Discord, and there's a link right there, right above my head. So make sure that you go there. And yeah, if you came in late, no worries. You can watch the replay here in the watch video button. Also, make sure that you upload your work to Behance. So you can click on create a project and follow the steps so that you could upload the work that you create and we can see it. So what I'll do is I'll post this on my Behance and I'll also post it on my Instagram, and tomorrow I'll show you guys where I posted it and the keywords that I use and all that fun stuff. So if you have any questions, remember, go into the current challenge page on Discord. I'll be there along with the other Adobe community mentors like Sam, Tim, and some other Adobe people. Leave your questions, show us your work. Thank you so much for joining me. Let me just see if there are any other questions before I let you guys go. Thank you so much, Sam, LaDonna, Adam, Leah. It was awesome being with you guys here today. All right. I'll see you tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. Pacific. Thank you so much. And I look forward to seeing what you guys create with this challenge. All right. See you guys. See you tomorrow.